Boy, this had to be the dirtiest, nastiest 2511, excuse me, dirtiest, nastiest chainsaw I've worked on in weeks. That's not what a muffler mod's supposed to look like, but we're going to try and clean that up. If you guys have a 2511, you need to remember that there's actually another baffle on the inside here, so you'll actually have to go through this layer, which is pretty easy to get through, and then that inner layer right there is much harder. I wish I had taken some video of this while I was tearing it down, but I was kind of in a hurry. So just like every other saw that comes to me, you know, when it leaves the dealership or if it just comes via mail, I can't do this one-handed. Just take my word for it. Both of the high and low screws there are set at their most rich settings. I don't know what kind of oil he's mixing with. It was blue in color. Saw doesn't have a ton of runtime on it, and that's not too terribly bad. I mean, there's some carbon and some coking, but when you look in here, this filter was nasty. I don't ever believe, you know, I've blown this off and washed it and degreased it. It's a nice thing about it. You got to be gentle. You can tear this very fine mesh, so be gentle. But if you'll look, you know, there's more coking, and this may not be an oil issue more than this thing just being set pig rich. At the dealership, when they hand you a saw over, they're supposed to at least tune it and get to a max RPM, which I guarantee you is not happening with the high side fully open or at its max limit from the factory. You'll also see in here, because of, let me get a flashlight. Let me get some light in here. Because, let me turn this down. Because the filter's been dirty, you can already see there's some significant wear on the plating. There we go. There's your money shot. Because all that debris has been rolling around in here that's got past the filter, because you know, you have to think of your little engine as like a shop vac. And when you put this air filter on there and it starts getting caked up with debris and dirt and fines, it's going to actually start pulling the smallest stuff it can through this mesh. And you'll end up with this. So hopefully we can do a little learning lesson on this. But I mean, you know, you got to do some regular maintenance. Obviously, this thing was just filled up with gas and oil every day and used and used and used and used and used. And the air filter has never been cleaned. I think that's the amount of maintenance that we've seen. So let me get the performance work done to this and get things tidied up, and we'll make this a quickie. All right, got everything ready to button up. Got some Honda Bond, just curing. Really humid around here today. Imagine that, South Carolina. Little intake work, little exhaust work. Still have the muffler to do. We'll touch on that just in a sec. But I did use a little bit of gray Scotch-Brite, which is their super fine, and just try to knock some of that coking off of there. And again, did the same thing on the inside. Just wound up a little bit of Scotch-Brite to clean up that surface and get the coking off of there. All right, y'all, so that still looks pretty crude, but that's the best I can get it. You know, the metal's creased because basically what somebody did was try to just drive a screwdriver in there and make a hole. Alrighty, all back together. These things are a dream to work on. They're so simple, so few screws and fasteners and stuff. Cleaned up pretty nice. I mean, you know, it's a used saw, don't get me wrong. But anyway, I haven't touched the carburetor settings. Let's take it outside and let's see if we can't just retune it just a little bit. All right, it's gonna be a cold start, so let's see what happens. There, prime, choke. Come on. just a little bit. You know, I was talking to somebody this weekend, and I said, you know, out of all the videos I've done, I haven't dared touch. I'm actually going to lean out the low side, and I'm going to lean out, which is counterintuitive, but it just goes to show how rich these are set from the factory. But no, I haven't done a tuning video. It's hard to describe. You know, you have to hear. It took me a long time to figure it out. That's about a quarter turn in. So a quarter turn leaner just to get it idle now that we've had performance work done to it. It's crazy. Okay, enough of that nonsense. Basically, the high side setting is about where it was factory without the modifications. Now, there is a little something to that. We've got a larger intake and exhaust, so we're able to move more air. And if you'll ever look down the throat of a carburetor, where it necks down and then tightens that area, that's called the venturi, and that helps pull fuel from that low pressure. Anyway, so for whatever that's worth. Okay, that about wraps it up. Saw runs great. I actually stuck in some wood, did a handful of cuts with it just to make sure. These can be a little finicky to tune. Another reason, you know, I mean, I've done probably 40 or 50 of these 2511s, you know, and invariably somebody needs to come back when it gets really hot outside. Hey, it's not running, you know, well, or it's shutting off when it gets really cold outside. You know, I can't say enough for auto tune and Mtronic being able to just tune around weather conditions and everything else. Yeah, great little saw. Love doing these. He should be really happy. And again, we're going to talk about just doing a little bit more maintenance on a regular basis to, you know, get this to last. I mean, these things are bulletproof. I've got Paul, one of my regulars. He probably had one of the first ones that came to Greenville. I think it's 4 years old. He still uses it. He actually picked up a rear handle unit just for doing some brush and stuff because, you know, it's just so light and effective. Anyway, enough of this rambling. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching.